You know, it it's rather, you know, funny. Not in a ha-ha way, but more of a peculiar, I guess. Because I mean, if you've been watching any of the videos the last few days, you know that, you know, my grandfather had passed away, and today we're actually having the funeral service. And full disclosure, I actually like dressing up like this. You know, suit, tie, belt, shoes, all that. I think I can thank Trinity-Pawling for that. But when I have to wear it for circumstances like this, it really doesn't make me feel very good. I mean, today is like the day. Like, we have the funeral service. They're gonna be in church. Like, put it to you this way, I have to be all the way in Bath today by 8 o'clock. By 8 o'clock this morning, and it's not even 6. I had to get up pretty early for this. Make sure I have all the time I need to get to the funeral home, which is nice. I mean, again, while I do feel sad that my grandfather is gone, there have been things that have been happening that really have been, let's say, dulling the metaphorical emotional pain, if you will. Actually, it's not metaphorical, it's emotional. For one, I have a whole bunch of family that's here, for this event. I was not by any means the only one who loved my grandfather. Everyone in my family did. I feel sad, so I'm more than likely willing to bet that, they're feeling sad too. So, we're not alone, which is nice. It's one thing to feel, bad. It's another thing to be the only one feeling that way, just because, that you can always find someone whom you can understand if you're not alone in something. A really good example of this would be, back when I was at Trinity-Pawling, actually. I went to Trinity-Pawling for wrestling. And believe it or not, I was not the only PG on that team. The other PG, who admittedly sort of fell out of friendship a long time ago, he was also from upstate New York. Yeah. 2 PGs, wrestling from upstate New York. And, we're running cross country together. I mean, he didn't make the top 7, but, he was still my teammate. We ought to be able to understand one another in that regard. And we did. At the time, anyway. What I'm trying to say is, the fact that I am not alone in the situation that is going on right now is really comforting. Another thing that's really comforting is, on social media, particularly Facebook, I look for stuff that, inspires me, makes me feel, better. And I just found out that yesterday, a friend of mine actually had their child baptized. So, yeah. Needless to say, those pictures were absolutely beautiful. The pictures that were on Facebook, that is. So, congratulations, if by chance you're, watching. And it was actually it was it was interesting. I was at the calling hours yesterday, and I'm standing next to my father. And I actually finally got a chance to ask him something that I'd been meaning to ask him for quite a while, I guess. See, when my grandfather had passed away, they were literally on their way to taking him to the hospital. So basically, he had passed away in the back seat of a car. Not really the most eloquent way to go. But the point I'm trying to make is, it happened like directly behind my father, essentially. I say this because my father has never been a stranger to actually bearing witness to that event. What I mean is, one of my all-time greatest fears, ever, like, you could pay me like $100 million and I would never go through with it, is I am terrified of the concept of being forced to watch what's called a snuff film. I'd rather not get into what it is. Although, based on what I'm talking about, you could probably guess what it is if you don't know. And, to see it happen on film is one thing, but to see it in real life is something I told myself I would never, ever want to witness. And yes, I just mentioned that my father, was in the car when my grandfather died. But it's not the first time he's ever actually seen it happen. Other examples include my aunt back in December of 2018. The man who I'm named after, he went by Uncle Nicky. He was in the room when he died. He even bore witness to the death of my neighbor's dog. Her name was Sandy. Just found in the middle of the street, frozen, because it was really cold. It was a cold day that day when he found, Sandy the dog. So at the calling hours, I finally got a chance to ask him, you've borne witness to, several, deaths, practically either right in front of you or you were, directly near, essentially. So I asked him, how do you do it? How do you bear witness to this and not flinch? I mean, full disclosure, I was in the room when my aunt, I just mentioned, died in December of 2018. But I was expecting to be, completely traumatized by it. And pretty obvious I'm not. But, I've seen my father essentially do this several times, and he's completely unwavered. Yeah, it could be the fact that, the generation before is tougher than, my generation, which everyone says that. I mean, everyone's always going to say it. I mean, it's going to be that my generation was better than the next generation, and so on and so forth. Maybe my father grew up in different times or stuff like that. But I wanted to know, how he was able to do that and not flinch. So he told me that, well, to be honest, it's going to happen. It's terrible when it happens. It is. It's going to happen to you. It's going to happen to me. It's going to... Well, this is what he's telling me, by the way. Although, technically, it's true. It's going to happen to you. It's going to happen to everybody. So why worry over that? And it got me thinking, I am completely saddened by the fact I lost my grandfather. What on earth am I going to do if I lose, any of my other grandparents? Or, worse, or actually not worse, no one's technically worse. My mother or my father, or heaven forbid, my brother, my sister-in-law, my nephews. Am I going to have that sort of unwavering inner strength that will allow me to stand tall and move forward regardless of the odds? And then I immediately thought back to, again, Trinity-Pawling, around the death of Andrew Einstein. Now, I mentioned before what a prefect is. And when I was at Trinity-Pawling, there were 6 of them. Now, for those of you who don't know, a prefect was a student, particularly a senior, whom was voted by his peers to become a prefect, and they are the advisees of the headmaster at Trinity-Pawling. When Andrew Einstein had died, of all the individuals who were just unwavering, they did everything they could to help others, instill confidence, be there for one another, have each other's backs, if you will. It was them. These 6 men, because again, Trinity-Pawling is an all-boys school, so you can't really be PC and say individuals here. These 6 men knew exactly what they had to do, as they were essentially the leaders. I mean, yes, each and every single one of them had wildly different personalities, absolutely. But as a cohesive unit, they worked. And it made things easier for me. It eased the shock of Andrew's death for me. So, if by chance one day, I lose another family member like this, aunt, uncle, cousin, mother, father, another grandparent, my brother, my sister-in-law, my nephews, or even any of my brothers from Trinity-Pawling, or any of the good people from Horseheads whom, if you know who you are, then you know I'm thinking about you. I'll just look at the examples of those 6 men, and I will do everything in my power to follow in their example. What can I say? I guess whether it was at Horseheads or Trinity-Pawling or even now, I guess I do a pretty decent job trying to surround myself with who I feel are good people. Not great, they don't need to be great necessarily, but, good. My father, obviously, my brothers, again, the good people of Horseheads. So, I'll be good. So as I go to Bath today, paying my final respects to my grandfather, I'm going in with the knowledge of, I know what I gotta do. I know what I have to do. And I feel ready to move on. It'll be hard. In fact, at first glance, one would even think it's impossible. But, lots of things that were once deemed impossible ended up happening anyway. So, I'm certainly never going to feel downtrodden by it. Yeah. I think I'm going to be okay. So, happy Monday, everyone. I hope that, I feel humbled that I was able to share my feelings on this sort of thing with all of you. I'm hopeful that, you can, take what I said in this video to some heart and, use it for your own life if you have to. I hope that ends up happening because, I'd like to help others in that regard if I can. And remember, if any of you guys ever want to, talk or chat, I'm always going to be here. I'll always listen to what you have to say. And I'll do everything I can to have your back. So, take care and make good choices. Thank you.